Hello and welcome to Mornings with Pleas, the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me on my very first YouTube video channel. It's a journey to even just get to this point, just to have the confidence and the nerve to actually start a YouTube channel and to present the best package that you can. So obviously for you YouTubers and you content creators, you understand the journey that I'm on, because it takes a little bit to actually get started and to have what you need to present a good package to what is reasonable to someone to actually be able to enjoy. So with that in mind, I just would like to thank you all for joining in, for tuning in, and I would hope that you would go to my YouTube channel and you would become a subscriber. And I would like you to actually go on the journey with me to see the growth from this very beginning on to who knows what it could be and what it can turn into. But I'm actually very, very excited on the journey. So thank you so much once again for joining in and tuning into my YouTube channel. Also my podcast. The podcast, I have done a audio version of the podcast and only have just a few episodes that are in the queue. And should you like to, you can go and I'll put some description at the bottom for you for where you can go and you can check out those episodes if you'd like to have the audio version. I know some people like just to listen to audio as they drive in their car and they hear different conversations of such. But my podcast is really about health and wellness, lifestyles, topics of interest that you may come across that you might be interested in. Personal growth. I'll have conversations with people who have a unique perspective on certain topics. And so hopefully something that will be said that will be a benefit to you and that will help you to move forward in your life and your own personal growth. And so I would like to again thank you so much for joining and tuning in to this YouTube channel, my podcast, Mornings with Pleas, the podcast. Remember to be a subscriber, check the like, and also check that notification bell so that you'll know what will be coming up at a later date or when I do post something on my YouTube channel. So what's coming up now is that I have an interview with one of my guests. She is my sister, as a matter of fact. However, she is a local talent in the city for where I live in, and she's a jazz singer. This is great conversation. I believe that you'll enjoy it. For those of you who like just great conversation. So tune into this next episode that's coming up, and there'll be more. Remember to press like and also the notification bell and become a subscriber to my YouTube channel. I want to thank you so much and I appreciate it. God bless you and have a great one. Until next time. So hello and welcome to Mornings with Pleas, the podcast. I'm your host, Pleas Anderson. Thank you so much for deciding to join me today. I really appreciate you, and I hope that the contents that I do provide with my beautiful guest that I have here, my sister, my wonderful, amazing sister. Her name is Trinell, and she goes by the Mad Scatter.
That's true.
Yeah. So anyway, though, but I wanted to appreciate you all for joining me on this. We're doing something new on this time. We're actually doing a video that we are trying to further our podcast along with not just the audio, but doing more of the video so that you can actually experience the podcast on a higher level. So anyway, welcome to the podcast, Trinell.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you for taking the time out to come. I know our schedules are so busy. And I know all kinds of things are going on in the world today, but I just want to thank you for taking the time out to join me.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So what's been going on with you here? I know we've had some different things going on, but what's been going on with you here?
Well, I've had a few gigs this summer musically. I thought with the COVID year, that I would do more songwriting.
Right.
I was kind of looking forward to the downtime because I figured, I can just write to my heart's content and all these musical ideas. And it just so happened, last year was more of a season of rest and of listening instead of speaking and reprioritizing, and just spending time with loved ones. So I didn't get to write as much as I wanted, and I thought, that would have been perfect time to get an album done.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it will come. I want it to be divine timing, so I don't want to force the process. But I've done a couple of live performances. I've been a little more choosy about which ones I do, and I want to make sure that I have something to say, and not just something to say, but something meaningful.
I get that.
To say. So I can't give everybody a yes, but if I feel a yes in my spirit, then those are the gigs that I usually accept. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Especially, I like what you said. It's important that we do come to a time, in our life where we can actually take time to take a step back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To take a rest and to reprioritize our lives. Because sometimes if we don't, life is like a river and it just pull you along.
Yeah.
And, sometimes you'll end up downstream with the stream without a paddle, some would say.
Yeah.
And so then your life kind of gets away from you. But though I appreciate that, if you can just take the time sometime and just to gather yourself. We were at one of your performances recently at the Botanical Garden. And when we as family were there amongst other people, and, I saw you in a different light.
The vow that all betray, for the passions that will love and lift you high to heaven, are the passions that you love and take you far to hell. So empty stories of fear, as in a morning sunrise, the light of love comes to me into a newborn day. Oh, softly, as in a morning sunrise, the light of love comes stealing into a newborn day. Oh, flaming with all the glow of sunrise, a burning kiss is sealing the vow that I'll betray, for the passions that thrill love and take you high to heaven are the passions that kill love and let you go to hell. So empty stories softly, as in the morning sunrise, the light of love comes stealing the vow that I'll betray.
Obviously, you're my sister, but just to see you live perform like that, and even amongst all other things that's going on in our lives, but yet and still, with the talent and the ability and the skills you have, still maintain, and that's a genuine statement that I'm saying, and just to be able to maintain and just to go through that without a flaw at all. Now, you might have said, I messed up on this part and this note didn't go right.
Yeah.
But I mean, from our perspective, from my perspective, I can't speak for everybody, but it's very, very enjoyable. And, for the city of Fort Wayne, they certainly can tag you and name you as one of the premier talents here in the city.
Wow.
That might seem like a lot.
Yeah.
But it's not, because you fit that bill.
I appreciate it.
And I believe now, obviously there's a scripture that comes up and says that your gift will make room for you.
And bring you before great men.
And bring you before great men. It didn't just say spiritual men.
Right.
Church men.
Right. That's true.
It means everyone that's abroad who can appreciate a God-given talent that God has given you.
Right.
And now, of course, God always wants his due, but we can always help someone else through,
Right.
who may not be on the same lane as we are,
Right.
but with your talent and your ability, singing is a universal language.
Yeah.
Helps everybody through something.
Yeah, it does. I think with music or with singing, because I'm such an introvert, you know that. So performing is very hard for me. It takes a lot of energy to actually amp myself up, to put myself in such a vulnerable place. But a lot of times I can't articulate in a conversation certain things,
Yeah.
but I am able to sing them in a song. Or if I write a song, I might be able to put those feelings in that way, in that form, and people can receive it and understand it. So, if you listen close enough to some of my original lyrics and, some of the songs I have out there, and you want to get to the heart of the scatter, then, that's where I am in the lyrics. I mean, you'll find little bits and pieces, my insecurities, my fears, my victories, my quirkiness, my silly side. You may not see it, just in conversation with me, but you'll hear it in the music. So
that's nice, and that's amazing. Where you can share the part of you without literally like sharing, just coming out saying it.
Right.
But you said just through your music, and so that leads me to another thing.
Okay.
So how did you come up with the name Mad Scatter?
That's funny. Well, when I started jazz, it was basically my first venture as the forefront or lead singer. And, my mentor, Alicia Pyle, and I played around with a couple of different names. It was the Trinell Armor Project because she thought my name was good enough. And I still felt like it just made me a little too vulnerable. I don't know. I tend to be kind of a private person. And so I went by the Trinell Armor Project for maybe the first year and a half, maybe 18 months. And then I was watching one of my favorite movies with my kids, and it's Tim Burton's version of Alice in Wonderland.
Nice, yeah. Okay.
And my favorite character is Johnny Depp's character, which Johnny Depp is one of my favorite actors, by the way. So anything he plays, I'm just all for it. But he played the Mad Hatter in this movie, and so I'm watching it with the kids, and I said, what if I went by the name The Mad Scatter? And it got approvals from all three of the kids. And so I was like, I'm just going to go with that because it actually fits as far as scatting being, a jazz vocal technique.
Right.
And the fact that I merge a lot of different genres.
You do.
So it's like scattered marbles sometimes when you come to a show. So it kind of gives the audience an explanation of what to expect when they come to a show. It's jazz, but it's not quite jazz, and it's a little mad or a little crazy.
I like it though.
But it had a ring to it.
Yeah.
And ironically, years before I even tried to venture into jazz, I think in 2011, I created a vision board.
Okay.
And I forgot all about this vision board, but I found it just by accident. And within the vision board, it said Jazzerland, kind of like a play on Wonderland.
Okay.
And it had the Mad Hatter's hat on this vision board. But mind you, I didn't start doing jazz until 2014, 2015. And I completely forgot that this was part of my vision.
Wow.
It just took on a different name, but that Mad Hatter hat was sitting right there on the vision board because I wanted to incorporate almost like a wonderland of jazz into my next musical venture. But I was on hiatus from music. I hadn't sang for 4 years when I started doing jazz, and I thought I was done, And so I definitely recommend creating vision boards. Write the vision and make it plain.
Absolutely. And I was just getting ready to talk on that. I mean, just very, very simply, we're just taking a small, commercial break aside. Make sure we do this vision board, y'all. Do that because that'll really keep you on task. Like you said, several years ago, you had an idea. You did a vision board of some things that you want to do. make sure you just go to Walgreens or some store and pick up a
Yeah.
poster board or whatever.
Yeah.
And just write down some points, draw some arrows to the next thing, put a date by it, time, colors if that's what it is.
Yeah.
But you're right. Write the vision and make it plain.
Yeah.
Because our life, once again, gets so out of bounds just because of life happening. And you kind of get lost in, quite frankly, someone else's vision, someone else's dream, someone else's path. And then you lose yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's very good to do that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I have one that's in my room right now
Yeah.
that I'm getting ready to start because there's some things that I want to do to speak to who I really am.
And I probably need to create a new one. I have like a digital one on my phone, but
Yeah.
I feel like I need a tangible one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then to the back to the Mad Scatter, whole theme. I think that fits you perfectly. It does. It just, I mean, it's a fresh, name. You encompass it very good, very, very well. And I think that fits you right to the T.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it just doesn't fit in one particular thing. And so because it doesn't fit, I think that allows you to branch out and be and do
Yeah.
whatever it is that you feel
Yeah.
that it does. And it works well. If anyone goes to one of her shows, you can see how she'll move in and she'll move out. And she will say something about, hey, do you mind if I go down the rabbit hole? It's just all kinds of things that it's not so much structured, but in a sense, it does have a method to the madness.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
And so I think that's great. So let me ask you this. Now we know how, the Mad Scatter name came up. So what was your first intro into music though?
Oh, that is a hard question, Eddie. Our family is a very musical family.
Right.
And, the sisters had the Armor Sisters with Gordon Martin. And so I grew up at their rehearsals.
Yeah.
I would sit under the piano and watch Gordon's feet on the sustain pedals and listen to his nails click on the piano. And
His
I
nails
always
did do
wanted,
that,
yeah. And I always wanted to play piano. I never really thought about singing, but I wanted to play like he played.
Really?
And yeah. But growing up in a musical household, and of course my mom has this beautiful operatic soprano.
She does. Absolutely.
She would get ready for Sunday morning service and she would sing to, warm up her vocals. And so I was just always around music and I thought everybody in the world could sing. So I didn't think it was a big deal to be able to sing. And I never really, I think I always intrinsically wanted to be a singer. Because when you grow up with the Armor Sisters, you want to be one of the singing Armor Sisters.
Right.
Like, I joke because I'm like, I'm an Armor Sister biologically, but I didn't become an Armor Sister musically until I was about 19.
That's nice.
Yeah. So, but I never thought I could because the sisters, my big sisters, were extroverts.
Yeah.
And they weren't afraid to be in front of people. And that terrified me. And so I felt like that counted me out from actually pursuing music the way they were. And
so did you think that you had to be like them?
I did. I wanted to. I thought when I grew up, I was going to look like them. I was going to talk like them. I just thought I had to grow into becoming Sheila or Bev, or Mika.
Right.
And I just, that never happened, needless to say. But I had to come to an understanding that God created Trinell in this specific format for a specific reason. And I had to become okay with the fact that my gifts were different from theirs. There's some similarities, but yeah, I did always think that I was just going to be like a caterpillar and go in the cocoon, and then I was going to come out and I was going to be Sheila Barnell one day.
So how do you feel now, though? I mean, knowing that, and you said that you understood and you accepted that God made you to be unique.
Yeah.
But how do you feel now about that?
Well, it took, I would say, maybe over the last maybe 5 years. And I felt like I had a conversation with God, and I was being really hard on myself, very critical about myself vocally. I'm not technically trained, and I'm around all of these classically trained musicians, and I'm so far out of my league, and you know, this is what's wrong with my voice, and I didn't do this right, I didn't execute this right. And I felt that God was saying, Trinell, you're insulting me because I created you, and you're insulting something that I created.
Interesting.
And that was a moment that somebody was to, you know, make a negative comment about TK or Trinity or Tabran, I would be royally insulted. I would be furious because you are, you know, insulting this human being that I helped mold and create. And so it really put a perspective on the way that that self-talk, that I needed to really, truly work on the way that I spoke about myself. Because I don't want to insult God. I don't want to insult what He created. So yeah, that's when I came to the realization that it's okay, that I'm a little different from the older sisters. And I think other people appreciated me more than I appreciated myself, to be honest. And I just needed to really take a look in the mirror and just, you know, appreciate the resources and the gifts that I have.
That is amazing and profound, and that'll, if that can be a subject all by itself, just to be comfortable with yourself, I think that would be a bestseller. Because a lot of people, obviously can't speak for people, but I think that a lot of people, in my opinion, live a fantasy, you know, life. They put on a mask and try to be something to make the other person comfortable. So you make yourself uncomfortable to make somebody else comfortable. Just to, you know, appease them or whatever, or what kind of talk or negative talk. But at the same time, I think if people know when a person is lying, when a person is telling the truth. And I think you can respect a person if they're just genuine and confident within themselves. You know, whether others appreciate it or not. Just being you, because you are unique and specific to how God made you. So if you try to be anything else other than that, then you would be living a lie.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
So I'd say just be comfortable in who God made you to be. Well said, by the way.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So then, let me ask you this. Now, I think you have some original music that's out.
I do. I've got a couple songs out there, maybe 4. Wrong Turn is the first single that I released, and I think that was in 2018, if I'm not mistaken. And that features Alicia Pyle. And that's who got me started in the jazz journey. Now, I've done a lot of other genres before settling into jazz. And I'm not saying this is, you know, this is where I'll stay, but for now, you know, it's what I do. But that was I wanted that to be my first release as the Matt Scatter, because I wanted to honor her and just her opening up her network and her platform to teach me the ropes, and then kind of pushing me out the nest. And
I mean, Alicia Pyle's amazing talent. She's very gifted at what she does, and for you two to get together. Wow.
It was funny because that song I had written the lyrics to in 2011, way before I met her. And then there was a gig that we had at the Phoenix, and it was an outdoor gig, and we were just kind of chatting. She started playing some chords that she was kind of just experimenting with, and I could hear the lyrics to Wrong Turn, and I just started singing it, and she was like, what are you singing? And I was like, it was something I wrote, but it fits over what you're playing. And so you know, that's how Wrong Turn came about. So it's a very old song lyrically, but it just organically kind of came together. Like it was almost like divine timing.
Yeah.
Like it was time for that song to be completed because, you know,
That's good
she
stuff.
had the musical, and I don't play, so
Yeah.
I didn't know what I wanted instrumentally behind it, but she had it.
So what she was playing at the time, was that for something that she had
It was,
going? It was just,
no, it was just some chords that she had been experimenting with at home.
wow.
And she just, you know, started playing them at the gig, just, you know, as a filler.
Yeah.
And then I realized that it fit Wrong Turn perfectly. And I love it because it's a waltz, so it's in 3/4.
Yeah.
And you can really hear her classical expertise in that song. So,
See, that's the talent that speaks up about you,
oh,
because then you can, you know, I mean, you have music, words or lyrics, but didn't really have music to it.
right.
And then for you to actually hear something and say, yeah, that right there.
That, yeah.
A lot of people can't do that.
I don't know, Eddie.
I mean, a lot. You know, I am serious. I mean, we can really talk.
Yeah.
But for the sake of our podcast
Right.
and what we're doing right now, we won't do that. But that's a real gift and a real, you know, real talent to
I
be able to hear
appreciate that.
something and say, yeah, all of this can fit right in that. That ain't something that happens
Yeah.
all the time. So that's really gifted, though. But for you and Alicia to get together with that and to help with the birth of your music,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
of your journey.
Yeah.
And, you know, and speaking of that, and I know we'll, you know, I can later on, I can list some, you know, places where we can find your music and people.
Sure, I appreciate that.
But where can they find your music?
Everything's out digitally. So Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon Music.
Okay.
You can even play it on YouTube for free. Like
Awesome.
I don't create the music for money.
Right.
I create it so that maybe it connects with somebody else,
Right.
or what they're going through, or a moment in their lives, or just to give them a place of escape
Right.
for 3.5 minutes. So yeah, you can find it on YouTube under the Mad Scatter.
Okay.
But I have Wrong Turn out, A Mother's Love, which is my favorite.
Oh man, yes. You gotta hear that one. Gotta hear that one.
This Love, which features Eric Clancy, who's actually Alicia's jazz mentor.
Right. I remember him.
Yeah.
He's
and,
very good.
I think Bayou, that's the latest one, and that features Michael Patterson.
Yeah. Michael is another
guitar.
original talent around the city.
Yeah.
Master bass player, all of that. Anyway, we can go on and on and on
You
about
have to
those
get
talents.
him on here so you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I think
guys
so.
would speak the same language.
I think
yeah.
so. I think that we can all kind of get together and talk. But I was going to say, so with those now, I know you don't do it for money,
Right.
and so I'm not just trying to promote that or whatever. But is there now, if someone had appreciated your music so much, where they said, okay, I know you don't want to sell this,
Yeah.
but can I donate something to you?
Oh.
I mean, is there anything like that, or?
Well, I mean, I have a cash app. I think it's $TrinellJazz.
Okay.
I never really thought about, because I'm not one that.
I know. Yeah,
So
I know. That's
like
why
a
I'm bringing it up.
touchy- Yeah.
Yeah.
I might need to create like a donate button where people can donate.
Yeah. You know, I don't think anything is wrong with that.
Yeah.
If somebody just wanted to donate
Yeah.
because they appreciate your
Yeah.
gift, your talent, your time
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And they just wanted to be a blessing to you, or they just
Right.
wanted, you know, however they wanted to say it.
Yeah.
They may want to just say, you know what, she's good. let me show her how much I
Yeah.
think that she's good, and how much I appreciate her music.
Yeah.
That kind of speaks to me. It's just like when you go to a restaurant,
Yeah.
you know what I mean,
Yeah.
and you have good servers
Yeah.
and some that are challenged,
Right.
and I just want to show how much I appreciate you taking the time to do whatever it is that you do.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that's good for people to be able to do that.
Well, I'll leave you with the links for PayPal, etc.
Good.
We'll work on that.
So how would you create, or how would you describe the music that you typically create? how would you, is it a particular genre that it fits in or no? Because you kind of led into it a little bit
I
at the
did.
beginning with the
I wish
Matt
I could
Scatter.
just come up with a whole different label. And it's hard to pick because when you're releasing your music digitally, and we'll do this one day when we're working on your album.
Oh, see,
you have
see how you
to
slid that in? Just like that. I caught it.
you have to select, which genre, and they only give you so many to pick from. But I would consider it jazz fusion
I like
because it's fused with other influences.
I like it.
Because I've grown up on gospel.
Yeah.
I grew up in the 80s, so I've listened to a lot of yacht rock.
Yeah.
My teen years were in the 90s, so I listened to a lot of R&B
Right.
and,
Yeah.
neo soul was
Yeah.
during that era,
Yeah.
early 2000s. I've listened to hip hop and
Of course,
classical and
my man Robert
Glasper. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely love. He's one of those people that fuses other genres in with his jazz, but the jazz is the platform.
Yeah. I think you two would be similar.
Yeah.
In their styles.
Yeah, I would love to work with him one day.
That would be. Yeah. I mean, you can't say that it never will happen. You never know.
Yeah, maybe I'll put it on my vision board.
Maybe you never know. Yeah.
But yeah, I consider it jazz fusion, or independent indie. Is a good fit. If you can fit it anywhere, it would be either of those two genres.
So what's the creative process then? How does that?
Like when I'm writing a song, it comes different ways, and I wish, because I'm a data analyst by day, so there's this huge part of my brain that's really scientific, and then there's another part that's really creative.
Yeah.
And I wish that I could come up with a formula on how to write the perfect song, but it never comes the same way. So sometimes I'll have lyrics, and I'll have the melody, and I'll have the chorus, and I'll have everything just how I want the song to flow, but I have no idea what it should sound like musically. And so then I need someone to come in and kind of fill in the blanks and,
Because, as a creator, as you are, and, you're a very artsy person, but that, because my premise question to what I'm getting ready to say is, well, how do you know what is perfect, a perfect song? But then when you get someone who actually puts music to your song, then that blossoms to something else.
Yeah.
Or it can grow.
Yeah.
In addition to what your main process is. And being artsy, and like you said, I heard the song that Alicia was playing.
Yeah.
And you dropped it in there. Mm-hmm. So, but, is there a perfect song?
I don't think there is a perfect song. I think there's some that are more catchy and more relatable. But I guess for me, where just all the elements come together, where the music and the lyrics and everything just kind of align.
Yeah.
There's a song called This Love, and it actually was like a 4-chord outro to another song I had written.
Yeah.
But Eric Clancy was, kind of just playing around with how he was going to end it.
Wow.
On the keys. And I heard it and I was like, that's a whole nother song. And so I wrote another song. So it was like a song within a song.
Okay.
And so sometimes it'll come that way. Sometimes it's just the clicking sound of my turn signal in the car.
Really?
That will inspire something.
I get that though.
Yeah.
I do get that.
Yeah. You spend so much time in the car and you just hear it and it's,
Right. That's happened to me sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm just hearing something like that.
Yeah.
And
you just need to press record on your cell phone when you get those moments. That's how Chaotic Logic came about.
Yeah, I like that song.
Do you?
Yeah.
The lyrics are kind of quirky, but it's supposed to be an oxymoron. Yeah. So everything within the song is, an opposite.
See, though, but you're a deep, and this is what you were saying earlier. This is the window to who you are through your music if you can't explain it verbally.
Right.
But lyrically you can. And that's what I'm saying. This is the deep part of you that if people can understand the oxymoron of the music.
Yeah.
Within that music, what I'm saying? That's very interesting, very enlightening, and it'll take you a little bit just deeper than just to music, because people get stuck in just the beat.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. And I think I've been really blessed and fortunate to have live musicians on everything that I've done, because that's not easy to come by and it's very expensive. But I've just had, people that were willing to experiment with me, like kind of like mad scientists. Let's go in the lab and see what happens. And I'm just really blessed to have just a community of people that aren't afraid to go down the rabbit hole with me and kind of work on some of my ideas. And no idea is too out there or too obscure. They're just willing to see, and lyrically a lot of the songs have, like Wrong Turn was about a period of my life when I turned away from God and I wasn't praying, I wasn't spiritually in tune. I wasn't really pursuing a relationship with God like I have been brought up to. And so people hear it and it sounds like a song about a relationship between me and a guy. However, it's about me and God. About that tumultuous relationship. And, if you listen to A Mother's Love, which I wrote to dedicate to my children because I wanted to write something to them because they're like just a major influence in my life and my biggest supporters musically. And it's just a part of who I am, just a big part of who I am as a mom. And the first verse is from me to them. And the second verse is a conversation between me and God about my shortcomings as a mother and just questioning whether he chose the right mom for these 3 children. So if you listen to the lyrics, you will hear a lot of probably the things that you're most curious about about me.
True. I mean, it when you hear good music and then you wonder, I suppose, about the artist. But then at the same time, you lead from that and you go to the message of the song, just like you just said. And the conversation you had with God. Am I the right one? Did you choose the right one? And, of course, I believe that God does not make mistakes. Not at all. And he knew what he was doing. When he made you, he made me, and gave us what we have. You know what I mean? Obviously, we have a journey in life to go down, and then there's all kind of turns everywhere. So our journey, our path is supposed to be here, but then if there's a turn, it's your choice to take that. Now that does lead me to something. Do you think you'll ever do a gospel album? Or have you done it?
I thought about it. I started writing praise and worship music. I started writing poetry. There's a beautiful soul, Sister Essie Bell, and she was a poet. And when I was younger, she was published in a book. And I thought that was so amazing. And I wanted to write poetry after that because I saw Sister Essie Bell do it. And so that's how I kind of started writing. And then it wasn't until I was 19, the first person that heard me, heard a song that I had written was my god sister Tina, which is your niece. And if I was 19, she would have been about 17 or so. And she came over for a sleepover and I was like, Sissy, I got something I want you to hear. And I had to turn my back to her to sing it to her because I was so bashful. And of course, after she heard it, she just gassed me up and told me it was the greatest thing ever. And I need to do something with it. We need to do it on the young adult praise team. Something, we just got to do something with it. And so I did start writing praise and worship. I've written maybe 3 or 4 or 5 praise and worship songs.
Well, I remember a couple of them that you let me hear. And I just wish I would have jumped on it sooner. And done more with them then. But now, maybe the motivation of the time is right for it. To do that because you have some great songs. It's just one in particular. I know we got to do that one.
Which one? There's a melody?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's based off of, because that's how I used to write songs. I used to find scriptures that spoke to me.
Yeah.
So that one's based off of Ephesians 5 and
Yeah.
20. Speaking to yourselves in psalms and hymns
Yeah.
and spiritual things and
Yeah.
make melody in your heart to the Lord. And so that was my favorite scripture. So I was like, I have to write something about this. And it's so simple. It's a call and answer song. But,
I love that song, though.
But I wouldn't mind maybe writing for someone like you, as far as going back to gospel.
Yeah.
I do feel strongly that there is a strong through line of gospel even in my jazz, because a lot of it is about my spiritual journey. And I think some of us are called to do gospel music.
Right.
I do. And then I think some of us are created to reach out to those who don't know God in a different vein. And I kind of feel like I'm part of that latter group.
Well, that certainly could be true, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
In my opinion, there's nothing wrong with that. There is a journey or a platform that how church does church, but everybody's not going to go.
Right.
That's me messing with my microphone. But everybody's not going to go that way.
Right.
Everybody's not going to feel comfortable or go that way to go to church.
Right.
As a matter of fact, there's some people that if we're talking about salvation and being translated into, the kingdom of God, there are some people who won't get saved in church.
Right. Right.
If you allow me to go down a scriptorial way,
Yeah.
Like the conversion of the Apostle Paul. He was the one that abused Christians, the ones who actually believed in Jesus.
Right.
But he didn't believe in Jesus as being the Messiah. He just thought that he was a man on the scene causing a lot of trouble. And so he went to the leaders of the day and said, I'm going to write a letter and persecute everybody who was serving this man. And so it was a particular time where in the scripture it talks about Stephen was being stoned by everyone around. And they said that Apostle Paul was Saul then at the time. He was standing there, was holding everybody else's coats and cloaks and things while they were stoning Stephen.
Wow.
And so then, the scripture reads as he was killed because of his belief in Christ. And so then right from there, it goes to another chapter and it talks about Paul going on the road to Damascus. And then that's where his transformation happened. Where he got called out and said, Paul, why do you persecute me?
Right.
So there was just a voice and everything. So with all of that being said, he wasn't converted at church.
Right. Right.
He wasn't in a church setting. I'm not saying anything against church, but I'm just saying the point is that everybody may not be converted at church.
Yeah.
You just might be walking down the street and the Lord might say something. You're looking around, you don't understand it, but though your heart changes. And that to me is just the Lord speaking to the human element, the human being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been at gigs where, there have been people hurting that, are sitting at the bar, and I've witnessed Alicia Pyle witness to these people and tell them about the love of Jesus. And of course, it's not foreign to me. It may be foreign to others, or, how dare she, or why would she do that, in a bar setting or whatever.
Right.
But that is the level of confidence that she has, that, I'm not just here to play jazz standards.
Yeah.
There's another reason why, And so my path may not be the same as hers or others.
Right.
I just have to be confident and trust God with the path that He's put me on.
Certainly that. Just, allow God to speak to you like He speaks to you, because He don't speak to everybody the same.
Right.
So, but now I don't want to just, keep us going for a long time. I just want to draw this to a close. I have other questions. However, maybe on another time we might be able to do a part 2 of sorts, and maybe you want to bring in Michael or somebody else.
That would be cool.
You know what I mean?
That would be cool.
So we can talk about some of those other questions. But at this point, I just want to appreciate, you coming on with me and talking to me.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful experience. I mean, it's even a small part of it, of our conversation. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
another light that I haven't seen of Trinell, though I appreciate that because, you know, as we are family, obviously, you know, sometimes we don't even know what we should know, or maybe it was presented to us and we just looked over it.
Oh,
You understand what I'm saying?
yeah.
And
yeah.
so it's just good to be able just to sit and talk, even on the podcast. And this is what this is.
Yeah.
You know, I believe that God has caused me to go into another path, in a sense, on the journey with just conversations and opening up and sitting and talking with people.
Yeah.
You know, and there could be healing even in that.
I agree.
And for everybody involved.
Right.
Not just one in particular person, but everybody involved. So I just thank you for, you know, coming on with me, Trinell.
Thanks for having me. We've been talking about it for a while. I'm like,
Yeah.
Eddie, nobody wants to hear what I have to say.
Yes,
He's
they
like,
do.
yes, they do.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yeah. So
That's so funny.
thank you so much for the Mad Scatter coming to join me on Mornings with Pleas, the podcast. And this has been a wonderful episode. So you can find this episode on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and I'll also leave a link in the description where you can actually go to Buzzsprout, where it's my platform that actually produced this podcast, and you can hear other episodes on there as well. The last one I did was a Mother's Day tribute. I had my mother and Trinell's mom, and then I had Sheila on there. Great conversation. So maybe something will be said on that you maybe drive in your car and have nothing else to do. Tune into that podcast and listen. So once again, thank you so much for joining in. Yep. And Trinell, thanks for joining me.
You're
I appreciate
welcome.
you.
Thank you.